Hi Polly, could you please talk to us about the 3 different stages of floral bud formation and how the tree moves through those 3 phases?
Okay, so all the fruits that you're gonna be harvesting next year is already being formed this time of the year. So you have basically the flower induction, which is the first stage of when the tree is gonna tell the bud if it's gonna be floral or it's gonna be vegetative, floral or mixed. And then you have the initiation, which is the next step, which can occurs anytime from, depending on the variety, but it can occur anytime a month after the full bloom to 3 months after full bloom. And then that's the time when you see the flower bud. You can see actually a doming on the meristem of the flower bud, or it's gonna be flat. And then after that, once you have a flower, you know that the identity of the bud, that starts to the differentiation stage, which is the time when all the parts of the flower is gonna be formed. And then, of course, the last one is anthesis next year. So all this process take about a year, a little bit more than a year. So growers, while they are taking care of their fruit this year, they are also taking care of their fruit next year.
Right, so when we've got the crop that we're harvesting at the moment, the buds for next year are already present.
Yes, that's correct.
In terms of return bloom, what's something that a grower could do in a block that might be biennial? How do we make sure that we get that return bloom back?
So crop load is the key management, the key practice actually for trying to reduce that return bloom, but it's not control your crop load through thinning, but it's early thinning as well. You have to remove those fruitlets early in the season to be able to ensure that you're gonna have good return next year.
Right.
So early thinning is one, and then of course you have other factors that can directly affect the return bloom. It's pruning, type of rootstock, it's uses of fertilizers, nutrition, everything. And then also you can try to use PGRs, but it's very specific. Usually we use ethylene inducers to promote flower induction, or gibberellins, which can suppress the flower formation. And that has to be used during the induction time. To use the PGRs, actually, you have to understand what is exactly the time of initiation. Especially for the varieties with problems with the biennial bearing that tend not to have flowers next year, you have to make sure that you know the timing of your flower induction. For varieties like Fuji, apparently like Jazz, tend to be biennial, Bravo I think as well. So those probably they are initiating their flowers earlier. That's why the early thinning is important, and the use of PGR has to be timed with that one. Some varieties that doesn't tend to be biennial, like Gala, so there is no need to wait for that. You can wait a little bit longer.
And how can a grower in the field tell if their buds are going to be vegetative or if their buds are going to be floral?
Often the growers are gonna do a bud analysis in the after harvest or in the winter, but that time for you to know is more to help you how you're gonna prune your tree. It's not gonna help you with the practice how am I going to improve return bloom next year, because that's too late. But the growers can bring samples from the field later in the season and see what is the percentage of floral bud they have and what is the percent of vegetative bud, and that's going to help them to how aggressive they have to be with the pruning.
Fruit set, in a lot of the regions that we visited, there were individual blocks that had problems with fruit set. So is there a strategy that you would encourage those growers to use, or something that they could check looking at the seeds, things like that?
So fruit set actually comes after the anthesis. Basically it's the last floral development process in the plant. And if you have a variety that you feel like you have low fruit set, you gotta first understand what is the problem. You're gonna check if you have good pollinizers, you have a good set of seeds. If the problem pollinizers, probably you need more pollen. But in terms of PGRs that you could use, for instance, if it's a variety that produces too much ethylene during bloom, or a variety that has really a long time for the pollen to growth, you can use PGRs that can reduce the ethylene production, like PGRs based on AVG that would increase the longevity of the flower. The flower would have more chances to fertilize and become a fruit. Or you can use, for instance, products that could reduce the gibberellins content in the plant, that could reduce the vigor and reduce the competition for carbohydrate. That would help you apply a bloom. But if the problem is, let's say, a frost that could damage the ovule, or you don't have the pollen enough, then you can use gibberellins actually to replace the seed function within the flower.
Great, thank you.